right. And Kim, if you could acknowledge if I have the settings right for you. Maybe nobody can hear me. Okay. Kim is good. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And hopefully I hit it right. Good afternoon instead of good morning, like I said yesterday. I think Zach called me out on that, so I appreciate the help. And enabling me to tell time, I guess, is the other thing. So I guess everybody can hear me out there, and everything is running good so far this morning. So, well, before we even get started on it, let me put this statement out there. If there's ever anything that I am doing or failing to do, whether it's communication or teaching or anything that I am failing to do on my end to support any of you that may drive you to want to quit the class, no matter what your grade is. Maybe there's something that's just frustrating about my personality I can't change, all right? I'll try to do the best if it rubs you wrong, but anything else that I'm not communicating or putting out there that is even giving you a thought about, I'm going to just drop this guy and wait till somebody else teaches the class. Please let me know before you think about getting out of the class or quitting the class or whatever term you want to use. It seems like, and where I'm going with this is, it seems like this packet, for some reason, there's just in mass confusion, and not any one particular. It's kind of spread through this class and with different students that emails are not coming through in the right format, even so they're thinking to send the right format. Maps not showing up, a wide variety of things. And so some of you might be taking it individually personal that I'm, I don't want to say picking on you, but driving you a little harder than the rest of the class. Well, other students of class are having the same issues. So please, let's address it. I know it's difficult in email. Some of you sent me an email and say, hey, I thought I did this, but what's wrong with this? And, and I'll reply back, and then we go on back and forth and trying to figure out, and there may be some technology glitches that I'm not aware of, just because it's worked like this for many semesters, worked fine, and then all of a sudden now there's something going on. So I'm not sure exactly what is happening here on this packet, and I hope it's not the rest of the semester on the packet 2 submission. So please communicate, and if we need to meet, number one, if you want to talk about it in class, Larry's. Thanks, Larry. That was great. Larry says global warming. I'm sorry. I just find that hysterical. Oh my gosh, with all the things that are rumored to be going on nowadays. Yeah, it's 2020. As Zach said, yeah, there's another good. I don't mean to laugh at anything. I mean, it's been some bad stuff, but there was a Facebook posting. I don't get on Facebook or anything. My wife does, and she just views it from relatives and stuff. But there was one posting that said before we came to Sunday with the extra hour of sleep, it said posting had somebody going, "Oh great, we get to turn our clocks back an hour. That's what we need, another hour of 2020, So we get an extra hour of sleep." Yeah, yeah, Zach, I thought that was hysterical as well. So thanks, guys. Larry and Zach got me completely off track. So if you don't mind talking about it in class, because it will help other people, maybe we can discuss it and figure out the technology problems or the submission problems or whatever there are. Or if you're not comfortable with that, please arrange times to meet with me. I'm getting busier and busier on the coordinator end. I got interviews coming up, and I'm not complaining about it, but I try to push back on some of this stuff that, meetings I'm required to be in and stuff, because you guys are my priority, and I try to block out my office hours. Even if I don't have anybody scheduled, I still try to block them out so I have them available to you at a moment's notice. And sometimes I don't pick up email right away. I know some of you said, "Hey, how about today at 3:30?" and then I don't pick it up until 4 o'clock or something like that. Oops, I missed it. I had a potential student emailing me, trying to meet with me. She's a graduate, but she's coming back and she wants to get her drafting degree. Anyway, we were missing time frames because of emails. I wasn't picking up quick enough because she was trying to do the next morning at 9:30, and I didn't pick up email until 9:30, and it was too late to respond back. So I try my best to get back to them, and as you probably saw on this week, I just now, or a little bit, about half an hour ago, cleared out the inbox, everything that was in there that I posted, or to grades to post and respond to the attendance email. I try to respond back to everything, whether it's a thumbs up or a full-on explanation of something. I try to communicate that as well as I can that way. I know the email is difficult, especially in this in the technical part of this. So please let me know if I'm not doing something correct. As I'm trying to say, so you get, I don't know, this is what I hear and observe. I don't know, because I'm not getting old, I'm getting younger each day. But as I noticed with some people or some situations, you get set in this routine and everything works for a while. And then for whatever changes, global warming or because it's 2020, whatever it is something changes that environment slightly and things don't work exactly the way they used to. So on my side, it looks like I'm going along fine and everything works great. I post on YouTube, everything works fine when I'm in CAD, and we're just going along. And all of a sudden, I'm getting problems with numerous students in one class, and almost like what am I not doing right, or what am I not communicating? James, Meek, go ahead.
Okay, so to talk about stuff in class, well, one of the things I had a confusion on is with the map that I sent for packet 2, you said in your reply, if I'm believing correct, that there was no viewport for the map and it was not viewing. I currently, there is, I don't want to say there's no way, but there's no way on my end that there wasn't a viewport there because I made those layouts with the viewport.
Okay, all right. And I apologize. I've looked at so many that I can't say for sure what I remember seeing on yours, so I'm not going to take that stand. I think I put on your email, go ahead and resend the DWG and the PDF of that one.
Yes, you did. I'm going to get to that.
Okay, perfect. And then I'll take a look, and then again, I can adjust any grade points or anything like that that was affected by something not being there. So thanks for bringing that up. And that's one of the issues that, and it looked like, and James, I'm not saying this on yours, but I'm just saying it looked like in a couple other situations, because I can't remember yours specifically, James, it looked like the map was imported directly on top of the page without a viewport. And so that means...
Oh, well, I freeze my viewport layer. If you...
Okay. All right. So that might have presented that. But anyway, go ahead and resend it. So that's a good point. So if somebody freezes that layer so it doesn't show up when you PDF it, yeah, that's gonna be an issue. Oh, not with yours, James. I'm just saying with others, it looked like they just put it on top of the D sheet, and maybe they as well froze it, and I just don't know that. So
I was always taught to hide the viewport layer. So if you want the viewport visible, I'll go change the settings in there.
No, I guess Yeah, that's a good question, because I know in industry a lot of times they'll have you hide that or freeze it. Um, Great question. I hate to say, yeah, everybody turn on their viewport layers because it's going to go against what you were instructed to do or used to doing.
That's your class. So
Yeah. Are you talking about in previous classes that you had?
yes, in previous classes that I had, they didn't want it printable, so they didn't want it really visible unless you were working with it.
Gotcha. Um, yeah, let's for this class, let's go ahead and just leave the viewport visible in paper space and layout, because that there are a couple of factors I can check within that when I'm thinking, oh, this doesn't look right, and then I can go through the viewport and I can check some factors that will clear and help it make it easier for me to grade. So, yeah, James, thanks for bringing that up. That's a good point as well. So, all right. Anything else? If you want to, I don't want to say vent, but if you want to ask, like James Meek just said, he had a question about one of his drawings, or a portion of packet 2. So, anything else out there right now? While you're thinking about that, let me see if there was anything I didn't cover yesterday. I think we hit everything. I need to put out an email to make sure you have included in your final plans, include any additional trees, or remember site if you're removing trees, add any trees if your lot doesn't have trees. I'm not going to give you a number on it. You can do landscaping as this applies to our rotunda project as well. So trees, make sure you have trees, shrubs, plants, and James Meek, I know what you're going to say in a second, and I'll come back to that. Trees, shrubs, plants, annual perennials, lawn, and make sure you call out the lawn cover. Is it xiphoid, St. Augustine, Bermuda, a fescue of some kind? Make sure you call it the lawn type, and then include a ground cover somewhere in your landscape. All right, so I'll put out an email, or I'm sorry, an announcement. I'll send it through an announcement. Make sure those are included in both projects that we have going right now. And drain culvert, I pointed out on the TCC map, and we'll talk more about that when we get into drainage and site plans. And then also, I think Iman asked me, and I'm sure everybody else would like that as well, an email for extra credit, or an announcement, I'm sorry, announcement for extra credit for the analysis of landscape architect. I'll get those out as soon as I can as we're moving through here, and I apologize for the delay. We talked about it yesterday. I should have gotten out yesterday, but I won't even tell you. Everything had nothing to do with a squirrel, or nothing to do with global warming, or nothing to do with 2020. It's just business went south. So James Meek says blue buffalo grass is a good for my area. Yes, that would be great. Blue buffalo. Don't know a lot about it. I'm getting a little bit of research on the blue buffalo grass. It's supposed to be a hardy, and I think drought tolerant grass, if I remember right, James. And then also, James, you said that you didn't want, you weren't going to include any annuals and perennial bedding because you're going to do xeriscape, low maintenance type thing, which is.
Yeah, the sages are most of the sages are perennials. I have like green sage in there, but there's plenty of space where I can put fillers as annuals if that's a requirement. So I can add those in.
No, because you did mention that you think you would hope in someday maybe you could actually do this landscape plan. So no, you do not. But with that, let me add this side note. If you don't use any of those items or any one of those items, please just note it in the title block that trees were required, but this lot already has too many trees or numerous trees already. I'm not adding any trees, or I'm not going to have a annual bed because of. Just put that note in there. All right.
Okay.
Cool. That goes for everybody too. So I'll get that out. All right. Anything else out there that we can talk about on packet 2? I got through all all the grading on packet 2. So double check me as James Meek has. Double check me on something and question on that. Double check me on it. Make sure what I'm saying in the comments is actually true, what you're seeing on your end. And then also make sure the same grade that I put on the email response for the packet 2 submission is the same points that I put in the grade book. All right. Nice and quiet out there today. Week number 3, day 2 on today, November 3rd. Don't forget, if you haven't voted, vote. And I know there's probably a lot of, I don't know, if you call it anxiety on post-election trauma might be going on. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. My wife, I tell her not to look at this stuff before she goes to bed, but she does. And I don't want to get anything political, but it's there's supposed to be stuff happening after the election. So in my stance, I know God's in control, so I'm not worried and stressed about it, no matter what happens. Oh, congratulations, Iman! You voted for the first vote. Very good. Congratulations, and thank you for doing that. That is great. Yes, Brian says congrats. That is awesome. I can't find clapping hands fast enough to put the emoji up. Maybe somebody else can. Brian, thanks for commenting. Is correct. Congrats. So that is huge, Iman. Thank you for sharing that. So everybody else, get out there. If you haven't early voted, get out there. And I think the polls close at 7. And if you're close to a TCC campus, that's where my wife went. She went to the Northeast campus, which is not too far from our house, and walked right in. Basically, didn't have to wait. This was during early voting, so I don't know how it's going to be today, but check the TCC campuses that are close to you. Make sure they have. I know they had early voting. I don't know if they're continuing with the regular voting for election day. So, all right, that's enough on the soapbox for politics. I don't like going down that road, but it just is a reminder because we live in a free country and we want to keep it that way, and every vote counts. So, all right. Anything else on packet 2? Anything on that we talked about yesterday? Plants talked about. What did we talk about yesterday? What did we talk about yesterday? I was going to say site amenities. Final project we talked about. Any questions on final project? We'll go over it a little more in more detail as we work through the different sheets and prepare on that. But you have a basic layout of what it is. I reviewed on the video and also posted the final, the project rotunda, the scope of work, which is just a Word document that says what's in on each sheet. And we'll talk more about that in detail as we move through that. Iman says, can you tell us about existing trees? Boy, I wish you could. I could. You're talking about the TCC, the Rotunda Garden Project, Iman? Is that one you're talking about? Yes. Great question. Oh my gosh. I think it's going to take some more reconnaissance. Well, we have the photos, and I know they might be confusing, especially if you haven't visited TCC South Campus in a while or at all. So I'll see what I can come up with, Iman. Don't let that stop you from designing something. Start doing some sketch work on it. kind of doing some design thoughts on it. Don't let that stop you. And the way we may go, I'm going to check into something today, and if somebody can remind me tomorrow to come back to Iman's question about existing trees, I'm going to check into it today. If we cannot locate existing trees correctly, we're just going to use that whole area from the circular walk area, that whole area inward as a blank canvas. We don't even have to have the existing walkways that you can see on the satellite. We can just remove those, and you can go to town designing it and add trees into it. Let's forget the existing trees. Zach says, I live close by South Campus. I can get some pictures tomorrow after class. Zach, thanks for the offer, but the problem is we have to, even as instructors and students, we have to put in a request to visit campus, believe it or not. We cannot be on there without authorization. So, Zach, I really appreciate that. Get some pictures. Yeah, Zach, pictures would be good, because I'm thinking maybe I could put a request in. James Meek says, I was over at South Campus a while ago, and I think most of the trees there are live oaks. Yes, so the type of trees, that's good, but exactly where they're located for existing. Zach, I'm not gonna. Yeah, they probably would try to kick you out, because I thought you were going to say something else, Zach, and I wasn't going to comment on it. But no, I appreciate that. Yeah, they patrol that pretty heavily, and there's hardly anybody walking around campus. There's very few people, and they question anybody they see pulling up. Whenever I pull up there, I get the police approaching me immediately, and so we're supposed to contact police as soon as we hit the campus, let them know we're there. Tree types. So, Iman, you can. The tree types are not. Yes, they're important. And you go back to James Meek, and I believe he is correct. They are live oaks. Most of them there are the live oaks, not the red oaks, but the live oaks. So if you want to use that information and kind of plot out what you can see from the pictures, but they're not really good as far as pinpointing within, a foot where they're located. And Zach, back to your offering again. Thank you, Zach, on that. We need probably some. That's why satellite imagery is so good. We don't have to pull any distances from a set point. And that's what I would have to ask somebody to do that. So we need a drone. Yeah, somebody in the class is a drone operator or certified. Zach, was that you? I can imagine the trouble you get in flying a drone over state property without permission. That would just lead right back to this class. You have one, you're trying to get certified. Zach, okay, thanks. So no idea, Zach. James and Zach, okay, you guys, I'm not going to even look at the prison yet. Yeah, that's, I'm pretty sure you probably get a couple fighter jets that would probably go on that. So James Meek says drones require flight space, permission to state property. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, state property, and then the prison's federal property. So you guys are really looking to get the instructor thrown in that prison that's back behind there. So, okay, I know the attempts going on here. I can kind of see this formatting without you guys saying anything. So yeah, no drone flying for reconnaissance, no going on campus unless I can get permission somehow. But move ahead on this project, and let's just make it right now before I do. If I get more information with like where a tree is located by, within a foot or half a foot, if I can get that information somehow, I'll pass that on. But as of right now, today, we can go with live oaks that James had mentioned. Iman, you were questioning on that. And let's just go with a blank canvas right now. All the way from that circular walkway inward is our canvas to do whatever we want to do. Definitely add trees in there because, you know, shade's always a premium. We'll talk about amenities today, gazebos, pergolas, things like that. And James, again, cool, good. Iman says good. Thumbs up on with both of those, so good. Yeah, and I think that would be the easiest for this project. We're fortunate enough just to have the satellite image on that to get us going. And it's really a shame for this class because, like I probably mentioned, other classes I would take actually on a tour around campus. And we actually did team projects on previous landscape classes where we took different sections of the campus, assigned them to a team, and then developed a final project from that as well. So, and then we would walk around campus and look at each site, and then we would walk around the campus entirety, looking at the different landscaping. Yes, James Mickens, COVID has made this very difficult. But the bright side, there's always something positive to come out of that. So maybe the positive is we're not working in teams. I don't know what your view is on teams. The positive is we, you know, I don't know, maybe it's not a positive. I don't think it's a positive. You don't have to get out in the cold or the heat or the sun, but I enjoy being out there. So I guess it depends how you look at it. Maybe somebody else could come up with another positive. But James, you're right. It's made this very difficult. It's made class delivery very difficult. Iman has a positive, not going outside. All right. Site amenities, James, your question mark on that? Yeah, we're going to discuss that. And in a second, James Meek says the positive is a great program that is more specialized in my previous one. Huh. Also, the TCC drafting design program is more specialized than the previous one, which was, I think, was...
Yeah, DCCD was more mechanical oriented. They tried to space it out, but they had like 2 architecture classes. I don't think they even offered landscape. They had topography though, but they didn't have the 2 associate's degrees that are split up for like TCCD has. So there's a lot more classes here. It's just all around a positive.
Okay. Well, thanks, James, for that. Didn't realize that. That's some good information, and I appreciate that. And I'm blessed to have a landscape class because I love the landscape class. I love topography as well, and I love CAD. So thanks, James, for that.
The guy at DCCD is a great guy, but he's one of those people that is pretty much, he wants to retire, but he's the head of most of the programs there. I mean, the head of most of the CAD courses.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, you can't leave. But like here, you have a limited budget.
Yeah, I know how he feels. I want to step down as coordinator and just teach, but they tell me the same thing. You know, you can't because there's nobody else. Take it, and I say, well, okay, you have 4 years, figure it out. So, and yeah, you can have the greatest program anywhere, but if your hands are tied or restricted or things not happening, it can be very disheartening as well.
That's the reason I said the final project was intimidating, such because my largest project was that's it, architecture for residential.
Yeah. Well, it's probably about the same scale. It's just maybe an avenue you haven't gone down before, or a lot of you haven't gone down before. So, yeah, we'll get through it. Iman says I can study while I care for my. Yeah, that's a positive. Thank you, Iman, for that. Yeah, we're actually spending more family time. You know, whether you want to or not. So for me, that's a positive. Even so, I'm working longer hours than I want to. But with my wife, and then last night I talked to my son. video chat last night. So, and where before the Bible study I have on Saturdays, every other Saturday, started off with just my brothers, which I probably talked to them more in 2 Saturdays that we had the study than I did all last year. Just in 1 month, because we chit chat a little bit before the study and just kind of catch up on everybody and stuff. So yeah, the family is a huge positive to the COVID, and I hope a lot of people see that. All right, let's go ahead and thank you for all the comments, suggestions, input. I do appreciate that. We'll go ahead and move into site amenities. We've covered site analysis. We've covered plant materials and the plants themselves, material selection. We've talked about that. And now we're talking about site amenities. So let's take a look and see what site amenities actually are. We have, doesn't tell me how many, 15 more slides to go, so it won't be too bad. I'll try to get through that in the next 30 minutes here. All right, so some site amenities, as we start looking at it, we have a wide variety of things we're looking at. On the top right, we have something as simple as a park bench, and then we have some hardscape back there. That can be an amenity as well. And the sidewalk or the concrete pad that this bench sits on, right here, that can be an amenity. A waterfall. Now this looks more like a natural waterfall, but if the scape is around that area, if the scape design, this becomes an amenity in here. A bridge. This looks like it might be some kind of shelter for the wildlife in there. So all kinds of things. The pond itself in the bottom left photo here is an amenity. So within this, there are some other things that we can see in here, or that we can't see in here, that might be amenity that we will talk about within the pond. James Meek says, looks like a duck hut. Yes, I was going to guess that. Either that or a very large dog that likes to go through the water. One of the two, right, James? Yeah, so duck hut, that's probably about right. So all different things can take into this, and there's a couple areas that I don't show on here that we'll get into as well. I'll give you a chance to look through that definition while I take a drink of water here. And as you look through the definition on that, I want to pause as we go back through this. Site amenities, products we just talked about. So a duck hut, a pond, a waterfall, a bench. But here's something you might not have thought of. Services are also considered an amenity to the site. And that's something we're going to have to consider as in our final project as we look at a cost analysis. A lot of HOAs, and this has changed, evolved over the years. HOAs, of course, require, maybe so many trees per lot, that you can't remove this or that. Your house has to be a certain color, or garage door a certain pattern or material, etc. Where they have evolved to and expanded to are and James McGinn says, yeah, like sidewalks. Yeah, that is definitely amenity. Where this is expanded to is on the perimeter of a subdivision or a residential area, one subdivision. Where this is expanded to is now the outside, maybe the entrance, and may include the entire perimeter around the subdivision. That's now required for them to have a maintenance crew. We have a subdivision that butts right up to ours. So we have the main entry for this one that butts up to us is off a main road, and they have their sign out there. And then they have it all landscaped there on the center median. And then as you drive through it, into that subdivision, they have a pool area, of course, that has landscaping around, and that's taken care of by the services, by landscape services. But one thing interesting about that subdivision particular is that they, I guess it's required or automatic. I'm not sure how it's when you buy the house there, you automatically have, and it's probably included in the monthly HOA dues, you have your front yard maintained. And it's cut and trimmed, and I don't think it includes shrubs. It may or may not. I haven't quite figured that out. But every Thursday, there's a full-on crew, and I would say maybe it's 75 houses, 50 to 75 houses. They go through a large crew and knock out every front yard, maintain every front yard, trim and edge. And like I said, I don't think it's anything more than that, trim, edge, and blow, and they're done. Iman says why the sidewalks are weaknesses in the SWOT analysis. So the reason they can be a weakness is that they become buckled or cracked or deteriorated, and that becomes or they're too low for drainage, as I pointed out with one of the TCC sidewalks. That's why they can become a weakness on the property. So if they're improved, and then they become an added amenity to that. James Meek says tree roots too shallow really destroy sidewalks. Yes, and so absolutely. So if you go back to my little spiel on how to, we'll get more into how to plant a plant and planting details, but I talked about root watering. This is one thing that will help with busting up the sidewalks, even in a small 4-foot wide parkway like what we have there. If you do deep root watering, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it sure deters the roots in one direction, either from the street curb or from the sidewalk, to avoid busted up sidewalks. And we have a lot of those in our subdivision because we have an older subdivision. I think it was built in 95 or 98, somewhere in there. So the city is responsible in our subdivision. The city is responsible for the sidewalks, and they're coming through and cutting them out and putting new rebar in and attaching the rebar to the existing and pouring new sidewalks in a proper way. And they may even have to do some root grinding or on that as well, which is dangerous for the trees, but a necessity. And they may have to do some topography so to add height to it if it's pooling water somewhere. So yes, so Iman, great point on that. It can be a threat or weakness, and they also can be, if you get them set right and working right, they can be an amenity to the site. All right, so services as well can be an amenity that provides comfort, convenience, or pleasure to the outdoor space. So we're looking at, again, a particular area. A gazebo or pergola, there's different designs depending what you're looking at and different terminology for each design. But these create a great outdoor space. So this is a wonderful amenity. All the way down to the seating area here is an amenity. This one does not have, must be in California or something, or no, we don't have a ceiling fan, which would be a great amenity there. You look right up in here. I'm sorry, I take that back. It's just a bracing there. If you could see outdoor lighting, they have a very unusual roof. I never saw this before. I shouldn't say roof, a ceiling pattern here. This looks like they have maybe a drop down, maybe like a curtain or something. A blind. We installed a couple blinds on our patio that we can drop down and give us more privacy. One of the threats, if we look at it for our property, our backyard, is the yard behind us, the house behind us, has a pool. Well, the previous owners, wasn't the first owners, but the previous owners, they decided to build a deck, which is all great. But they raised the deck up along the fence, probably about 2 feet off the ground. So we have a 6-foot fence. Do the math. 6 foot minus 2, you're looking at 4. The typical person is 5 foot, maybe 4.5, and it's right along the fence. They're staring in our backyard when they get on the deck. Nice, huh? And that's some other things. I won't get on that soapbox. That new people moved in. They seem to be nice people, but consideration of your neighbors, especially when you're on a small lot. But anyway, we put a curtain that we can roll up. I call it a curtain. Vine, roll up and roll down. That's another type of amenity. Some artwork along here, some plants that might be hung. Those are amenities. So just trying to get you familiar what they are so you can better incorporate it into either one of your projects. Waterfalls or water features are big amenities as well on that. Iman says she loves that. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. The first house we owned in California was a repo, and it had a full-on, it's not a river, stream bed that came all along from the pool, ran parallel with that. And then it came into a pond, much like a little bit smaller than this area here, but had a waterfall dumping into it. So yeah, Iman, I love those type of things too as well. There's a little bit bigger design on a pond area, but look around the pond area. Outdoor lighting. I'm big on outdoor lighting. If you drove down our street, now that I said that, you probably identify our house. Water plants, yes, Iman. Water plants are definitely an amenity. When you get into large or even small ponds, there's a whole ecosystem that you have to do balancing, especially on that previous one. There was some fish in there, and I tried that, some koi's and some goldfish and such. This whole ecosystem to keep that water that clear, there's a whole science behind that. So these plants help with that as well. They bring in different insects which feed the fish. They also provide some filtration for the water. So yes, absolutely, the plants are an amenity on that. The lighting, like I said, if you drive by my house, you probably can identify it after the statement saying that I love outdoor lighting. It's just, I think it adds so much at night, and it adds security as well. I always had it in all the houses I've lived in. Always encouraged it. And it's not super bright, but it's enough that if you looked out your window, you could see if somebody was out there. I have automatic light, 2 automatic lights that come on our side yards after the gates, and that's an amenity as well. If you're adding any kind of security lighting. Jane Smith says water chemistry and water ecology there goes my screen again, is a something, the last word on that.
Science.
Science, thank you. Now, yeah, I'm back with no PowerPoint. It's a science. So yeah, absolutely. It's huge. I mean, we've gone on lectures. My wife and I have gone on lectures on that as well. That's how I get the PowerPoints back. I just have to click the next slide and they come back. Learn something new every day. It's a good day when you learn something new. Let's look at outbuilds. This could be, it looks like a bicycle back in here, so a little storage area back in here. Another amenity as well. Another amenity could be a buffer zone, maybe some hedging that's around. That could be an amenity as well. So a lot of different things. This wall here is a very nice amenity. Not only is it artistic in style, but it provides a buffer. Maybe there's a commercial type building back here on the other side of this. It looks like a large park area, maybe some apartments or maybe commercial in the background there. And then they have a play area. Here we have, it looks like maybe sawdust or some mulch going on here. Some play items here that are amenities. this canvas. This has become very popular with a lot of play areas to put these canvases instead of a hard structure. These can be replaced fairly easily over the years, especially in Texas as they wear out. They can be replaced instead of going back and rebuilding a pergola or a covering of some type that's out of wood that has to be maintained and stained and sanded and or replaced. Even the metal structures that are all, I don't know if you've ever seen metal structures that have create some kind of shading. Those have to be replaced as well over time or maintained, sanded, and repainted. For these canvases, they can just be taken down and then replaced very easily. Expensive, yes, but look at this block wall, a concrete wall here, a nice amenity that provides actually seating in the space. It looks like they may have a slight, not rail, but a divider here to keep people from either falling back in or going into the planted area. Usually children like to play on everything except for what they're supposed to play on. Anyway, my experience. So here's another type of amenity, a different type of housing that they have designed here, which I picked this up when I was looking into tree houses. So this kind of just intrigued me as it's actually an apartment, but the style that it portrays as opposed to the other style is a type of amenity. Look at the walkway structure. It's more, it is structural, but it also lends itself to the architectural style, the artistic style. Tree houses in different forms and shapes. We also have the hammocks here as well, amenities. We have this type of, not really a tree house, but it's more of a secluded, a little hideaway, getaway that's probably, it looks like it's two-sided. It looks like the left-hand side is open as well as the front. And it looks like the right side may have a window and the back side is closed as well. So very lush forestry type of setting here. We took a tour of homes. This is a few years ago when I was having a landscape class, and one of the ladies in there was working on or was a master gardener. If you don't know what a master gardener is, I won't get into it. Google that. In master gardening, you're required to have so many hours of educational work where you're giving back. And one of the a set number of master gardeners put this together. Different houses that we would go to in really nice exclusive areas that we could actually go into the backyards and see how they landscape. And some of them actually looked as lush as this left photo here, just because it was so heavily treed. I remember one walking through, it was so heavily treed, and it was a very small backyard, but it had a meandering stream going through it, and then this lush landscaping all around it, and with a little, not quite this big, but a small little outbuilding or retreat area that they had in there. And it wasn't a very big yard at all. We got to see some of these backyards, how they, I'll say they, and don't, if anybody has a nice backyard like this, don't take it offense, but the rich and famous live. Got to see that, and it was very, very exciting. We got to drive around to about, I think it was about 6 or 8 different homes over a period of 4 hours. And I think I took photos, but I think it was on my other phone that died. So anyway, I don't have any of those. I should go back through my photos and bring those into lecture sometime and stuff I've seen. Here's another shot. So let's look at, before you zero in on these two main photos, look at this stairway. Now I know it's the only way up to this tree house, but that is considered an amenity as well. I mean, you could have just a rope ladder, right? would be an amenity, but not as nice as this circular stair here with the wrought iron railing. Here we have some lighting along the side of this treehouse as well. This is a pretty nice treehouse. The treehouse I made as a kid was basically a pallet. We somehow got it up into a tree and kind of built it off that. It was probably a 4x4 pallet or something like that. That's our treehouse. I don't think it ever had a roof or anything this nice. So here's some different additional amenities as well. You have the seating area, chairs and table. You also have the wall along the left-hand side and outdoor prep area. It doesn't look like it has a barbecue, but it looks like a sink, maybe refrigeration of some kind as well. So I don't know if this is actually their house and this is their patio area. Could be, but still we have amenities all around that area. It doesn't look like a bad place to live. Find out where that's at. All right. As we look at water features as well, we can look at the how the amenities are supported with solar. This is one thing that I was looking into. Another class that we took, and this has to be 3 years ago. This was in Dallas. This was at a nursery. It wasn't a chain nursery, and I cannot remember the name of it. And James, maybe I don't know. I can't even describe it, but it is in Dallas. And I guess it's been there for just like 50 years, 60 years or something like that. An older nursery. It's close to the Arboretum. Anyway, we got to go there for a lecture, and the lecture was on ponds because I haven't built one in this house yet. I'm in the process of doing design work. There's some obstacles in that. But anyway, ponds, and I brought up the question because he didn't touch on it about solar pumps that are driven by solar panels. And his immediate comment, he was very nice. It wasn't a rude comment, but his immediate comment was, these solar panels are not adequate to drive a pump for the duration these pumps must be on to provide adequate filtration, because there is a certain time element, especially when you get into ponds. Not so much fountains, but ponds have a certain amount of time. Going back to James Meek's comment on the science behind the ecosystem, you have to run these pumps a certain amount of time for filtration, etc. Same with a swimming pool. I used to service swimming pools in California when I was, I don't want to say between jobs. I guess I was working another job, but it seemed like I was working multiple jobs. But I had a swimming pool route, and there's a chemistry or a science behind all that, as well as the amount of hours that a pump has to run to provide adequate filtration to prevent algae and bacteria and just cleanliness of the pool. The same thing with the ponds or fountains. So, and when the gentleman said that they're not adequate, I was kind of taken back by it because I have some solar lights. They're bullet lights on our back patio. And well, side note, I had to put the wiring. I have panels, one panel for each bullet light. It's probably about maybe a little smaller than this. And the wire, so that you have a wire that goes from the bullet light to the panel, which is very lengthy because they anticipate that you might have to put the panel in a sun area, which it's perfect for our patio. Our patio, we have a lattice covered patio area, so it was perfect. Well, the first one I put up there, the squirrels decided they were going to chew on the wires. I had to repair the wires and then put investment in conduit, metal conduit. A simple thing. Anyway, it turned into a whole operation. Anyway, so, and those panels, the smaller panels for that bullet light, I know it's not a pump, they will run that thing. So from sunset, I'm going to say 6 to 7 hours. During the summer, they run from dusk to dawn. They'll run the entire night. from those. So I had to keep my pride down on objecting to the professional, because I'm not a professional on it, but I really believe at that time there were better panels than maybe he was either aware of. But I know panels have been improving over the years. So solar panel, either for lighting amenities or for pumps amenities, I know they have improved immensely, and I think now that they probably have adequate ones to run larger pumps for ponds and water features. Maybe not for the pumps that actually circulate the full amount of water in a large pond, but for a bubbling water feature, I'm sure there would be enough as well. Which this is like a secondary. If you put this in a large pond, you have a primary a pump that will circulate the entire amount of water in a certain amount of time. There's a whole mathematical calculation depending on how many gallons, pump gallons per minute, all that. Maybe not for the larger pumps for solar to run a certain amount of time, but for these smaller water features, there definitely would be, I think, today enough solar power on that. So here's some different ones, different setups. I had one of these similar in California with a rock area. We didn't have the brick around it, but the rock, I had something similar, and actually it was just a bubbler. It was more like this type feature in a rock area. I had that front yard as well, and it worked out really well. And one of the reasons that works out really well is a whole safety issue back there. I couldn't have an open pond in an area where a child could come without a fence, because you're required to have a fence around a pool, or it doesn't have to be a pool, it can be just an open pond area. You're required to have a fence with latching, self-closing and self-latching gates. Well, the one I had was out front, so I could not leave it exposed, so I filled it in with rocks. I can get more into that if you want to know more details at some time. And just put a bubbler on there, and this was right in front of our living room window, so you could hear it. With the windows open, you could hear the bubbler going, so it worked really well. And on that particular house, there was a garage that was half of it was converted into an office, which I used as a home office, and had a window that would look right out to that, and I could hear the bubbler through there and see that as well. And get a lot of work done. Drift off and think about other things, daydream. Anyway, so different bubbler situations that can be powered by solar, and then you have lighting on top of that. And I'll move along here because we're getting close on time to take a break. Here we have, my mind just went south. All kinds of amenities, all right, all the way from walkways, concrete, and different types of finishes on them, to the benches, different types of benches here as well. Just a whole wide variety of amenities in this little park setting here as well. There's James, you'll probably have to help me on this one. Oh, is it Clydemore Park, the one they built above the 75? Did I get the right park on that? Is that Clydemore that they built on top of the 75 freeway? You think so? Okay. Yeah, I know you're not right downtown Dallas, James, but I'm referring to you because you're in that area. Iman says similar to downtown park. Yes, absolutely. So 75 freeway, which I used to drive that a lot when I first moved out here. I was in business for myself and dealing with medical records. This is before I even started teaching back in 05. James Mick says, I have been there when I lived in Mesquite. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I used to drive that 75 and there was no park. There were some awesome looking architectural buildings, but no park. And so what they did is they built a platform over the top of the 75 freeway and converted it into a park, because you have basically commercial and apartments left and right of the 75. And so amazing engineering. and it's probably not quite twice, maybe twice the size of the width of this, what we're looking at here. But it's a beautiful walk through there, and they have at noon, they have a street above the freeway, a street that food trucks pull up to, and so they have all the sitting areas, and they have shade up there, and these food trucks pull up, and you can buy lunch there and stuff. And our son, my wife, and our son who works in Dallas, or was working in downtown Dallas at the time for Encore, met us for lunch one day, and the restaurant, the Mexican food restaurant, was right around the corner from here, and we walked up there. A great experience there. Again, I have pictures, probably more of architectural design, because the buildings are up close. The one building that looks like it used to cantilever over the freeway, which it didn't. It just looked like the shape of it. You're up and close and could take all kinds of pictures. And I forgot my digital camera. I took it with my phone, and some days I'm gonna have to extract all these pictures and apply them, and like I said, apply them to different classes. Is really, for me, really interesting and exciting. So amenities, there's just some more suggestions on that. We talked about the second or third slide, we talk about services as well as an amenity, and we'll be getting more into that as well. Not only the installation, but the maintenance on this, whether it's pest control or weed control or additional planting, just overall maintenance, or maybe it's an amenity to expand or maintain something that's already in existence. So services can be an amenity as well. All right, so that concludes amenities. Any questions on that? Who was that? I'm sorry, I didn't see that. We had one other one before you, James, I think.
It was me.
Okay, James, go ahead.
So the services you have to hire, or does that include like services that you would just do yourself?
That could be both. Yeah, the consideration, it would probably lean more towards what you would hire. But if there's always a cost for you to go out, and even if you do your own personal maintenance, right, there's a cost.
Yeah.
So that has to be taken into consideration, and you probably don't include your time as a cost. Maybe your wife would, or your significant, right? But you have your own gasoline you have to provide, and trimmer line, and maintaining the tools. So that would be amenity, whether it's outside contract or yourself.
I was just wondering, because we talked about before, mine's almost a zero-scape, and I was just thinking while we were going through this PowerPoint that I don't have a lot of amenities planned at the moment. So I was like, what can I include?
Well, that's a very good question. It was something I should probably add into this PowerPoint. I just thought of this. Statuary. Do you or your wife like statuary items?
I was actually thinking about statuary just a few seconds ago for that. I was like, well, I'm not going to put a bench or anything, but the statue would go.
Yeah. It can be, I bought my wife of a rabbit that we just set in the planter out front, and the ivy or the potato plants grow around that. That's an amenity, the little rabbit there. So some kind of statuary might work in your yard.
Would a rock boundary around the bed that I planned be one too? Okay.
Yes, because that's adding texture, which is an amenity. As long as it's not, I guess it could be designed to hold other material back. Usually what you're talking about is more of an accent rock type thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. So there you go. A couple ideas for your xeriscape, statuary, and some rock formation as well. One of the other things that could be an amenity, instead of planting one of your xeriscape plants in the ground, is putting it in a clay pot or a type of pot as well. As you look at this last slide here, we have another amenity right here. Even so, we have plants inside this. This pot is now an amenity because it brings in texture and color as well. So, a great question, James. That was a great question. Very good. Thank you for that. And it helped me think too about something else I should add to the PowerPoint. Statuary. Absolutely. Thank you. Javier says, can amenity be a trash can? Yes, it can, but in an appropriate way. So I don't think I had any of those in the PowerPoint. So if you added a trash can to a park setting or like the rotunda area, but you don't, when you said trash can, so immediately what I'm thinking is just this plastic trash can slapped down, or a metal trash can slapped in the middle of a park or a yard. You have to do, yeah, it's almost a service too, but you have to do it right. So if it's a park setting, have you ever seen those trash cans that have a wood holding around it type thing? That might be a way to display it. So at TCC, we have, I believe it's TCC, yeah, TCC has, on South Campus, has these old trash can containers. They're actually a rock exterior, a pebble rock exterior, and they have a plastic lid, and the lid, when you take that lid off, then they have a trash can inside. I'm not sure if the trash can is removable or the liner, I can't remember, but anyway, that's an amenity, a trash can like that. So it depends how you have it displayed, I guess, or how you have it tied in. Just plunking a trash can at the front door because that's where you dispose of your junk mail. Yes, that might be an amenity, but I don't think it would add to the landscaping. So you have to be careful with that. Great question, great statement on that. James Mick says it's almost like a service. Yes, complete. It could go either way, which falls into amenities. Iman says concrete trash can. Yes, because that would add texture. Probably it would be more of a concrete holding for a trash can inside, because typically the trash cans either have to be removed or the liner has to be removed. And typically if you have the liner removed, the liner will break and therefore you have a mess inside, and so you need to be able to remove the trash can. So concrete as a holder, absolutely. James McGinn says yes. Javier says yes. And I guess I answered that. James Leek says aggregate exterior. Yes. Very good memory, James, for only being there once. And James Meek says aggregate exterior. That's a type of aggregate, but it's I think it's a little more of a decorative aggregate than just your concrete aggregate. So yeah, great. Good comments. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else? All right. All right, so we'll take a 10-minute break. Come back at 1:50. Put that in the chat so I don't forget. And we'll stop the recording, be back at 1:50 for the second portion of lecture. See you in a few.